Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And today's article is all about going not just to the moon, but to Mars and beyond.
We are?
Not
today?
Us, well,
I didn't pack.
Through words, we will visit other planets and go into space.
I'd have to feed my cats before I go.
Big bowl of dry food. They'll be right.
I guess so.
So, do you think humans will ever live on other planets, and when?
Yes. I don't know.
Okay.
Eventually, I think we will.
Within our lifetimes?
Yeah, maybe.
Give it another in the next sort of 40, 50 years?
I don't know. I would like to say yes, because I think we can do it. But always something seems to come up. It does cost a lot of money. And, there's the other idea that says, well, we shouldn't focus on going to other planets. We should fix the problems on this planet first.
Yes.
And then we won't have to. But if we keep ignoring the problems on this planet, then we will have to, because we'll run out of, food and space and clean air.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I'd like to see it happen, but I don't know, because we've been talking about this for a long time.
Indeed. We're actually going to go back to think about some of the first parts of this mission to the moon and take it all the way to what's going on right now. Let's read through the article and find out more.
Reading.
The Artemis Space Program. To the Moon, Mars, and Beyond. In 1961, U.S. President John F. Kennedy announced his plan to land humans on the moon by the end of the decade. NASA met that challenge through the Apollo space program. The program was named after the god of the sun from Greek mythology. Each Apollo mission helped test new rockets and equipment. Important lessons were learned from these tests, and technology improved until it was safe to send humans to the moon in 1969 on the Apollo 11 mission. There is still much to discover about space. Now, NASA is launching a new program, Artemis. In Greek mythology, Artemis is Apollo's twin sister and the goddess of the moon. NASA is working with businesses and international partners to create new technology for Artemis missions. The Artemis program plans to send the first woman and the next man to the moon by 2024. The program will allow astronauts to study and explore the moon in new ways. For example, it plans to send astronauts to the moon's south pole for the first time. The information the astronauts collect will help NASA prepare for the next giant leap, human missions to Earth's neighbor, Mars.
So we're going to start with kind of the early days of the US space program. We see in 1961, US President John F. Kennedy announced his plan to land humans on the moon by the end of the decade, so by the end of the 1960s. Of course he did. And so it was a good thing they got it done in time, given he'd announced it. To announce something is to publicly say it. You're either saying it's true, you're telling somebody, you're not kind of making a secret promise just between friends, you're telling the whole world, or at least anybody who you want to be listening to you. So, for example, you might announce your engagement. You might tell everybody, I'm getting married.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a big public thing. Here's another example. The government announced that school and work are cancelled tomorrow because of the typhoon. So this was a big announcement, official one. Lots of people heard it.
That's right. If it's your news, you can announce it to your friends and family. The government will announce things that are important. And we can also talk about how companies might announce a new product, right? When they're putting out advertisements, they're using those to announce things. And yes, Kennedy, in a famous speech in the early 1960s, announced that the U.S. had this plan to send a person to the moon and return them safely.
Yes.
I like how he added that part.
Good on him.
Just send them there and leave them. We'll bring them back by the end of the decade. What is a decade? Well, it's 10 years. That's all it is. We just use this word to talk about 10 years. Now, it could be one of those easy numbers, 1960, 1970. We often talk about the 60s, the 80s as a decade, but it could be just any 10-year period. For example, in our example sentence, Milton moved to New Zealand in 2009. He has been there for more than a decade, right?
Yeah,
2009 isn't one of those nice round numbers, but 2009 to 2019, that would still be a decade. It's just a 10-year period. So they did it. They sent people to the moon. I think they landed in July of 1969.
Oh, cutting it fine.
Just got in there, but they were successful in sending people to the moon in that decade.
Exactly. We see in the article, NASA met that challenge through the Apollo space program.
Absolutely. The program was named after the god of the sun from Greek mythology. Yeah, that's right. Apollo used to deliver the sun across the sky through the day. And if something is named after something, this phrasal verb basically says we're using a name of something to give that name to something else. It could be something personally. You could be named after your grandfather or something like that. We can name places after famous people, name foods after famous people. The Caesar salad is named after someone. So basically, you're just taking the name of something that was originally called that and using that name for something else, often just to kind of connect them or a little tribute, a little salute to tie the histories together.
And this name comes from Greek mythology.
Right.
Mythology is a collection of stories, songs, and beliefs from usually an older culture. And they would use these stories or myths to explain the world to each other, to their children, to kind of say the way, this is why the way things are like they are. Gods do this, ghosts do this, you can go to the underworld, that kind of story. So that was the Apollo mission. It wasn't just the one, they had quite a few.
That's right, they did. 17, I believe.
Wow.
Right? Each Apollo mission helped test new rockets and equipment. You guys probably know that Apollo 11 was the one where they actually landed on the moon for the first time. They had 10 up to that. They had a few after. And each one of those, they would do a little bit more. They would try something new. The early ones tested the equipment. The later ones explored more of the moon. But each one, they would test new rockets and equipment. And yes, if you're going to space, you're going to need some equipment. Because equipment is stuff that you need to do a job. Often we talk about a workman's tools as their equipment. A soldier often carries their equipment on their back. That might include a gun or a weapon of some kind. If you're doing any kind of specialized job, you'll need equipment. And even if you're engaging in a hobby, you could use equipment. Sometimes we have different names for these things, fishing gear or artist supply. Or kitchen utensils, but the cook uses knives as their equipment. The fisherman would use a fishing rod and hooks as their equipment, and the artist would use paints and brushes or other things like that as equipment. So basically, these are the different things that you need to perform a task or do a job. Here's another type of equipment you might use for your hobby on the weekend in our example sentence. Common camping equipment might include a tent, some sleeping bags, and a small stove for cooking. That's some pretty basic equipment for camping.
So these Apollo missions were using new stuff every time. They were testing it. And we see that important lessons were learned from these tests. And technology improved until it was safe to send humans to the moon in 1969. As Mike said, on the Apollo 11 mission. So equipment got better, rockets got better, technology improved. Technology is modern machinery. It uses and brings together the latest science, engineering, design, new ideas, they're always improving it. Smartphones, computers are two different kinds of technology, so are cars, all that sort of stuff. Every time someone goes, we can make this better, we can make this cleaner, faster, smaller, whatever, that is new technology. Here's an example. People from 100 years ago would be amazed by most of the technology we have today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
100%.
Airplanes.
Doors that
computers.
open by themselves.
Doors that open by themselves. There you go. But even though the Apollo program accomplished so much, as the article says, there is still much to discover about space. Yeah, we really didn't do much. I think if you look at the whole area they explored up on the moon, it would be a tiny area on the Earth. So there's so much, of course, to explore even on the moon. And then there's a lot more of space too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
so
space is big.
NASA is not just kind of like moon, job done.
Yep, that's it.
Close the shop.
All right.
Instead, we see in the article, now NASA is launching a new program, Artemis. So here, NASA is launching this new space program. To launch something, well, it's got several meanings. For one thing, it could be send a rocket up into the air. That would be launching it. But also launch can mean to start something, usually something big or important. You could launch a new product, which means you make it available, or you could do something like this. The organization plans to launch a program that provides food for poor people. So they're kicking off this whole new program. People doing different things, different activities. They've got a goal in mind, and NASA do as well. So we've got Apollo, and now we have Artemis.
Oh, okay. And of course, this name also comes from Greek mythology. But who exactly was Artemis? Well, we read in Greek mythology, Artemis is Apollo's twin sister.
Okay.
And the goddess of the moon.
Oh, right.
Perfect.
So great. I'm surprised they didn't go with Artemis first if it was a moon mission.
It was a bunch of men back then.
Oh, well, there you go.
1960s, you know.
Oh, well. So what is going on with this Artemis space program? We see in the article, NASA is working with businesses and international partners to create new technology for Artemis missions. And this, of course, is a change. You might remember a space article we had in a previous magazine that talked about how America and Russia were competing.
Yes.
And maybe that helped them get competitive. But now everybody's kind of working together. Different companies, businesses, countries across the world are really putting all their ideas together so we can all work together to meet these goals.
That sounds great. And of course, as we also learned back in the 1960s, the first space program was a lot of men working on it. But of course, that's changed too. We're bringing together companies and government, and we're bringing together men and women. It says the Artemis program plans to send the first woman and the next man to the moon by 2024. Yes, all of the astronauts so far, the American astronauts who walked on the moon, they were all men. Up to this point, I think 12 different men have walked on the moon, but soon a woman will walk on the moon. And why not? 50% of the world are women.
Well, there are women astronauts on the International Space Station, so they've gone into space.
Yes.
But this is actually putting someone to walk on the moon. And of course, we've got the technology to do this right now. However, the point of this whole program is to do it in new ways, to make new advances, not just stick somebody up there, that's it. No, we've got to kind of do it in a new way that makes it worth all the expense. So we see in the article, the program will allow astronauts to study and explore the moon in new ways. So not just land, plant the flag, whatever, and go home. You've got to do new stuff, check out more bits. And the people doing this will be astronauts. An astronaut is just somebody who goes up into space. The people in the big suits and the big helmets.
That's right. And of course, astronauts explore. They explore space. And of course, if they're going to go to the moon, they will be exploring the surface of the moon. How exciting. Now, of course, exploring the surface of the moon as an astronaut would be one of the most exciting things you could do. But if you have a sense of adventure, if you like to see new stuff, you would probably be happy to explore anywhere. Because when you explore something, you look around in an area that is new. At least it's new to you. You've never been there before. You don't know a lot about it. You don't know what you're going to find. So you're like, hey, let's just go out and see what we can see. Go where we can go. to find out things that we didn't know about before. That's basically what you do when you explore. You can do it in the sort of older way of, getting on a boat and going to a land that hasn't been discovered or flying off in a rocket to a new planet. But you can also explore information. You can use a book to explore things and learn new things in your mind as well. But yes, when we talk about explore, often we're talking about actually going to a place you've never been before to discover things you've never seen before. For example, after we check into the hotel, let's go and explore the local neighborhood. Walk around, check it out, see what we can find.
So this is the idea. There's no point just sending people up to the moon and bringing them back. They want to explore it. They want to find out some new information, maybe stuff about what's in the moon, what's there, what don't we already know. Maybe will it be possible to live there someday? Here's an example in the article of one of the plans they have. It says, for example, so that's NASA, the Artemis program, it plans to send astronauts to the moon's south pole for the first time. So the South Pole is the southernmost point of the moon. I guess if north and south really mean anything up there. But certainly where the kind of flow of energy, magnet energy goes to. Like for us, it's Antarctica down there at the bottom where the penguins live. Does the moon have penguins? Good question. Does it have ice? Ice could mean water. So that's the sort of thing they want to go and check out.
Absolutely. And of course, the rocks they find at different parts of the moon will tell them different stories of the moon's history. So it's all interesting stuff. And the information the astronauts collect will help NASA prepare for the next giant leap, human missions to Earth's neighbor, Mars. So we were kind of talking about how all these missions, they try out new things, they test out new equipment. Going back to the moon is kind of just a basic test for the really difficult challenge that's going to Mars, which is a lot further, a lot more difficult, and will require a lot more money.
And probably new equipment as well. Now we're going to look into what plans they have for the moon mission and the Mars mission in tomorrow's article. Now, though, we're going to go to today's For You chat question.
For You chat.
So today's chat question is, would you like to go to the moon? Why? Or if you don't want to, why ever not?
I think I would like to go to the moon, but I'm not sure. There are some difficulties. I've read about the early missions to the moon and, simple things like washing, going to the bathroom, the food you can eat. There are a lot of problems there. There's actually some famous radio of the moon astronauts talking about how much gas they have because of the vitamins and food they were eating. So I don't know, but it is 40 years later, right?
Yes.
We have advanced a lot. I saw that Elon Musk, the new Dragon X spaceship that he was making, and it looked really cool. So, if they could make the food better and allow me to sleep in a more comfortable position, I might want to go, but I don't know. I'm not sure. How about you?
100% yes.
Yeah?
I would very much like to go up into space, see the moon. I wouldn't say it's kind of been my desire forever, but if you were offer me the opportunity, I would take it for 100% just to see see it from a different perspective. What does the Earth look like from up there? What does the moon look like from up close? Can I go to this place and kind of let the whole universe inspire me with its different ideas? So
that would be pretty cool.
Yep, I would say yes. I would definitely like to go to the moon or just simply up into space. I'll visit the International Space Station.
Okay.
See what's happening there. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's going to be an expensive one. But we're not just going to the moon with Artemis. It plans to go further. And we're going to learn about that in tomorrow's article. Join us for that. Bye for now.
Vocabulary Review. Announce. The government announced that it would raise taxes at the start of the following year. Decade. After Linda had worked at her job for a decade, she became the boss of the company. Equipment. Michael needed a lot of new equipment to play soccer, like a ball and special shoes. Technology. The telephone was a type of technology that made it easy to speak to people from far away. Launch. The government will launch a new program that will make it easier for students to pay for college. Explore. When I go on vacation to a new city, I like to explore it with a map.
智慧小补帖
Mythology. Astronaut.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net